Hi there YouTube, Extreme Trains here. So here we've got the next installment in the reviews of the brand new for 2025 8th anniversary classic motorized range. And this one here is the classic Gordon. Here he is, looking swish as ever with that absolutely ginormous face. And also an express coach, which I don't think we've seen in quite some time. So again, not much more to say. What are we waiting for? Let's do it. Here he is, classic Gordon. And you can see when they push the trucks and the engines with their tenders like that, they look much, much better. And you know what I'm talking about if you've seen my James review. Otherwise, very quickly look at the box again. Looks great in box. We've got a picture of the Gordon there. We've got a picture of Gordon. Yep, picture of Gordon on this side. 80th. Classics Gordon. CGI Thomas. Nothing on the back. But yeah, he looks pretty good in the box, doesn't he? Alright, let's crack him open. Okay. We'll do the spin. Alright, let's start with the face. Again, a great Gordon face. It's kind of reminding me of the Thomas Wood and Railway, sorry, I should say, classic, normal version. Not that version that's behind the engine here. But he's kind of got this, it's kind of like a bit of a smiling mouth, but the eyes certainly are quite pensive and thinking. Interesting, but he is, again, he's looking up, away, not towards the person in the box, so because he's in the box, he looks kind of away. So yeah, he's kind of, again, got a more thoughtful face on him than you might perhaps expect from Gordon. And then again, in the weirdness of these proportions, he's got these tiny little squished front here. I mean, yes, we do have, again, the painted buffers, fantastic. We've got the white running board, and it goes all the way here to his splashes, and then it stops. Anyway, that is what it is. But it's so smushed. So if we just pull in James here for a second, James has this nice big long buffer beam, and Gordon's is all squished up. So it just shows you that the proportions on these things are so weird. Anyway, that is what it is. We've got his little, kind of think of them as, not ears, like shoulders almost here. You can see we've got the printing of the boiler bands. We've got the little wheel arches, which actually line up with the wheels quite well. Cab here, again, separate plastic piece for the roof. You can come around again, you can see this is raised and also got some printing on it so that it stands out a bit more. You can see I've got a bit of a, I don't know if factory error is the right word, but there's some flushing there in that plastic that should have come out but didn't for whatever reason. And then again, we come to the back. Unlike James, he's really pushed all the way to the back. All the way to the back. So there's no cab for Gordon, which again is fine. We haven't really had one before, but it just shows you there's some differences there. And then we come to the wheel arrangement, and again, it's really interesting. So up front, first of them all, we've got the pistons, the cylinders modeled here. Then we've got the kind of connecting rods and the pistons here. These don't do anything. They're just static, but they're cool. We haven't really seen that kind of thing before since, engines from, I think, like Hank and stuff used to have them. And then hiding behind there are some wheels, the little molded wheels. And then he's just got the normal chassis, again with that separate plastic wheel in the blue. And then we do have molded at the back here a little wheel, and that's been molded onto the coupling section, which I talked about in James. So they've definitely, you can see, tried to make this kind of modular so they can kind of screw in for the different engines, the different little details, which is nice. But again, I think Gordon does look funky because he normally has quite a big long front, and it's been, not only is his proportions wild because he has this huge, again, if you just didn't show the wheels and didn't show the rest of him, that would be fine. But the problem is he's very, very wide and has a huge face, but he's very short. Like, he should be about twice as long to have a head that big. And then the way the wheels are done and the fact that he has no front means he's kind of like, yeah, it looks weird the way he, yeah, it's weird. And I'll show you what I mean when we look at a comparison with the older version. And again, you got the tender here. So this is the same as James's tender with just Gordon's printing and colors on it. And again, you got the removable coil load fine. I don't like the finger marks, but it is what it is. So yeah, that's what that looks like. Again, we've got, you can see the best here actually, the new chassis for the trucks, the round wheels and the little hole parts in it. So it kind of shows through, copyright 2024. And then this is a really interesting piece to me, because if you look at the bottom, we've gone back to the old style of chassis, and again we've gone back to the geared wheels, so there's literally no consistency here. It's a bit crazy. And you can see that this bottom part is actually copyright 2019 and the rest has been copyrighted 2024. Well, I think this part maybe is not 2021, yes, when they introduced the All Engines Go chassis, but this certainly is 2024 because it's a new piece. And then it's got sitting on top of it this coach section. I don't know if this coach section has appeared before. Someone in the comments who knows more about Trackmaster history might be able to tell us if it's appeared before. It's got the printing there of the stripe, could be a little bit more opaque, but that is okay. And then we've got a separate piece for the roof. It doesn't come off or anything, but it is open. And as a kid, I remember with my Annie and Clarabelle, I used to shove bits of string in there for some reason to make them passengers. I don't quite know what was going on, what the thought process was, but certainly there's opportunities to put things in there. Good luck trying to get them out. And again, yeah, I think this is an interesting kind of hybrid where you can see they've tried to minimize new tooling by reusing that bottom chassis section. So interesting. Now, similar to James, I think his tender ends up being way too far behind him, but now for a comparison, let's bring in this. This is again one of the special edition Gordons from Trackmaster 2. And again, you can see again, there has been such a big size change in these toys. It is wild, especially because they're selling for like the same price. This just never happens. Never happens that things get bigger but don't get more expensive. Again, I think Gordon was one of the few engines who didn't look terrible with the Trackmaster 2 proportions and designs, but not great. And again, one of his big fails was that he did have that same problem as James, where his boiler got wider. And again, I didn't love this face either. But what it did get right for Gordon, at least, was that he had this big front. He had some buffers. He had the buffers in front, and then he had the cylinders here, and then he had the wheels. And I think that's one thing they did get right in terms of Gordon's proportions, whereas this one you can see suddenly it becomes really clear what I'm talking about when you have the really squished buffers and then the cylinders are right there, and then immediately we're into this huge running gear section. So yeah, Gordon suffers from them trying to make the big engines relatively all the same size because it's not quite right, but from the front, clearly the winner. You've got it reminds me actually of those recently reviewed piggy banks where the heads are like literally ginormous. So yeah, you can see we've got similar amounts of detail on here. This old Gordon also did not have a cab. But again, the tender has increased in height, but all not really in length, which is interesting. Which again is kind of part of why I think the proportions on this Gordon re-tender are better than this, because this one, it's gotten taller but not longer. So it's almost chibi styled. And again, if we bring them so that the both are taut and about the same distance, you can see there's about 3 millimeters in it from the additional coupling, and that's the thing that makes it look really, really weird. So there you go. That is the brand new Classics Gordon. All right, what do I think about this Classics Gordon pack? I'm very torn. I think this is probably the one I'm most torn of the 4 that I've looked at in this first wave. It's for a couple of reasons. It's not because of this coach. I think it's great to have this coach. Sad we've only got one, but again, I can see people wanting to get lots of these. I think they look great, and they scale pretty well with these new sized engines. I think the problem with Gordon is he probably of all of them suffers the most from the scaling issue, just because his boiler and his body is so huge, and yet his wheels are so small, and then his front is really small. And I think, again, I've talked about this a lot in my videos, Thomas and Friends, you got to get a couple of different things right. And one of them is the front of the engine. And I think they have got it right if you just look at it like this. But as soon as you start to move him around, it just all seems to fall apart in terms of the scaling. And I really think this is one where they probably should have taken half the distance between his face and between this little support section, so that his face was further back. As I said, even by 2 or 3 mils would have made the hugest difference, I think. And then that would have meant that even though he has this chibi front, he would have had a bit more of it showing, whereas now his nose is almost the same size as his buffers. But if you can get past that, you will love this Gordon. It's fantastic. All the details are really, really good. And again, we do get this really nice express coach. It's much better, I still think, than the previous version of Gordon that was meant to represent this era of the show. So I really like that about it. It makes me very, very pleased. And again, the price, as I've talked about in some of these videos, you know, these are selling for $20 each. And for $20, you're getting quite a lot of toy, quite a lot of play value. So again, if you're a Gordon fan, this is one which I'd say you definitely want to collect. Is it perfect? No. Is it fun? And will you have a good time? I think the answer is going to be yes. So that's my thoughts. Can't wait to see what you guys all say down in the comments below. Otherwise, that's all we've got time for. This is Extreme Trains.